back again for another video. So I've been thinking about a few things, and a few things just dawned on me here recently. I always have these epiphanies, but usually when it comes to what I have to say, my submissive gets it first. Those close to me, close to around me, those who follow my doctrine, those who believe my philosophy, get to hear what I have to say first. And that's normally how it goes. I'm sure there's other people out there who agree with me, but like I said, it's the closest people to me usually. And since you guys are my listeners, of course you're going to get it before anybody else does who's less closer to me. It's just a causation. But anyways, on to the topic. So today I want to discuss a few things. It's very commonplace that perception is our reality. What you perceive to be real is real to you. But not everything that you perceive is actually real. There are some things, like for instance, I'll give you an example. I've seen this meme a few times. Maybe you guys have seen it, but there's two people standing adjacent from each other, and there's a number in between them. Now, this number is a 6, or is it a 9? It depends on which perspective you're looking from. While none of the people are incorrect if they say, hey, I see a 6, or hey, I see a 9, it still remains that they have opposing opinions about the same thing that they're witnessing, that they see. Even though it's directly in front of them, even though that they're seeing the same exact thing, it's all about the perspective that changes the reality of what you experience, right? So anyway, on to the topic. I like to preface my videos a little bit, but I started to think about this whole black women and STD rate thing. Yes, black women have a large STD rate. It is the biggest when compared to black men. And we're quick to point the finger at black women for being responsible for this, solely responsible for this. While yes, I do highly agree that a woman womb is her own responsibility. But I also want to look at the opposite side of that 6 or 9. So what causes a woman to get an STD or STI for you biological folks out there? What causes a woman to get an STD? Sexual intercourse, right? Or, it can be just vaginosis from other things, but commonly when we're talking about STDs, we're talking about transmissions, right? So it dawned on me to say, well, who are they getting these STDs from? Yes, on the surface, they are the largest carriers for, certain types of things, but where do they get it from? Yes, their promiscuous behavior has something to do with it. Their uncouth approach to sex and their unwillingness to get tested very often has something to do about it. That boils down to personal accountability. But once again, the question still remains: who did they get it from? I don't think that that's a question that a lot of people are posing, first off, or a question that people are even asking or thinking to consider. I was watching a video not too long ago with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he was talking about the things he talks about, astrophysicists, about the hypothesis of space, and all these different things. But on his closing statements, he was asked, what is one thing that he wished that he could express, to other people, one of his desires to understand. And he said that his desire was to ask the questions that have not been asked yet. And I was like, that's pretty interesting. He was more concerned about, he's not concerned about the questions that we don't have answers to. He's concerned about the questions that we haven't even posed yet. That's very forward thinking. And I kind of think the same way as well. It's just that I didn't articulate it in a way that he did, nor did I express it to many people. But today I'm here to pose that question on this particular subject. Where did women get the STDs from? So let's think about it. Well, if we understand that black women majority date black men, or marry black men or deal with black men sexually, we can assume that she got it from black men. But how is it that black men don't have the same equal rates of STD transmissions that black women have? That's the real question. So I started to ponder and I started to swim about this thought. And I said to myself, well, who's more likely out of the 4 types of men to exchange an STD? Because remember, I create these categories so that when I have something, I can filter it through them. So when I'm posed with what type of man that I'm addressing, or that I am approached with in regards to a problem that involves men, especially black men, then I put them through that filter. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm putting them in through that filter. Who caused black women to have such a high STD rate if black men as a whole do not have the same rates themselves? Think about it. I'll give you a second. I've already come up with the solution. Of course, I wouldn't be here explaining it to you. But who caused it? Who did it? Somebody. Well, let's go down the list. We have the monk. The monk is the man who desires women, but he desires things more greater than women, whether it be his own pursuits of happiness, a hobby, anything, a job, traveling, whatever. He enjoys those things more than he does women, and he does not get the same satisfaction for women, even though he still has a desire for women. It's just that the satisfaction level is not equal to other things that he pursues or does. So it's not him, because he's not even having sex probably. So let's swim over to the true man. The true man, well, he's very honest about exactly who he is, his nature. He's very honest about who he deals with and in what ways he deals with it. He's unapologetically himself. And being responsible is part of being a true man. So definitely he gets tested. Definitely he makes sure that he practices safe sex practices. There are things that he does. He's very selective on the women. He doesn't have sex with just anyone. So it's not the true man. Then we have the F-boys. Call them the F-bombs. F-boys. And of course we have the betas, the simps. They fall in that category as well. The orbiters, all those, they fall in one category. So we have, the F-boys, the simps, they fall in that category. The good man is the next one up. The good man, he is a little bit different. He can be a beta, more than likely he is, but I don't exclusively call him a beta because he has good intentions, but he lives a blue pill lifestyle. He can be with one woman for a very long time. He can suppress his ability or his biological desires, but he's lying to himself the whole entire time. And he creates relationships around these lies that he tells women, the lies that he tells himself about exactly what his nature is. Oh, I want a monogamous relationship. I only want one woman. But these are the same men who cheat, right? I mean, because the good man the true man doesn't have a reason to cheat. He's going to tell you that, hey, I desire another woman, and that's just the way it's going to be. And if you don't like it, bounce, right? And the monk, well, he doesn't even have sex. So it's not either one of those. But the good man, he has the ability to cloak himself in a adornment of monogamy. Yet under the surface, he is truly a man who has biological desires for multiple women. And we all know the threshold in the black community that the rates of sex don't match the rates of testing, right? So we can assume that the betas are passing these things around, but not really. The good man, he has relationships that last for a very long time, and he may step out, but it's not with a gang of women. So they are partly responsible for it in the family setting. But most women, black women, don't have relationships. So it's not really the good man. Then we have the F-boy, the simps, that category. These are the men who are responsible for the large number of black women who have STDs. How can I say that? Well, once again, I'll bring you back up to speed. Remember that black men don't have the same rates of STDs that black women do, nor do they have the same amount of children that black women do. So that would mean that it's a lesser percentage of men who are creating the larger percentage of problems for black women. I mean, we spelled this out plenty of times in the black community, though I don't think we went this route to explain the STD reasoning. So now we have concluded that it is the F-boys, the simps, who are the reason for the large spread of the STDs. Sure, they have a counterpart, multiple women, but at the same time, they are the center. They are the smaller percentage who are creating the larger percentage of problems. So I would implore you all to think about this. If you know, especially the women, if you know the man that you're dealing with, or even have some type of close relationship with, is not a true man or a monk, well, you wouldn't even be dealing with a monk, because a monk doesn't want to deal with you. You're only left with three options. A man who is completely honest about his sexuality, his desires, what he wants out of life, and knows himself in and out, which is the true man. Or you're left with a beta. Sure, you may get a couple of years of bliss where he doesn't cheat, but in the long run, once he feels comfortable, once he feels that you are comfortable and that you're not going to relieve the relationship, this is exactly what he's going to do, which can leave you open to STDs. This is what we see as far as Derek Jenks. I don't really like talking about him pretty much, but he is definitely a case study on how good men operate. Now, I don't think he's a malicious person, not by any means, but he is very self-serving. That's what most good men are. They only do things for the reasons that they want to do it. That is a very beta attribute. There's no altruism within them at all. What you see as altruism is just a money grab, or usually a status grab, some type of grab, brownie points, whatever, moral signaling. That's what it boils down to. But as far as the F-boys, well, these are the men without no direction who don't know themselves. This is the larger pool of percentage of men that women are dealing with. And like I said, women, you only have 4 types of men to choose from. So that means that if you're not dealing with a true man, you're leaving yourself susceptible to STDs. You have a higher rate. You have a higher percentage. You have a higher likelihood. How do I know this? Well, look at the black community. Who you think gave these black women STDs, right? It's all common sense to me once again. But I figured that I would share this with you guys, because while I do hold black women at a high accountability, they are not chiefly responsible for everything that happens, or solely responsible. They are chiefly responsible, yes, because it's their own, but they are not solely responsible. This is the reason why we tell women to stay away from simps. Stop begging, stop giving them any type of attention, anything. Sure, they may be good for sex, but they're also good for STDs, right? But anyways, I've talked long enough. I just thought I'd lay that on you guys real quick. But this has been the Wolf in Bearded Clothes. May you have a good day, and peace be with you.